I refuse to give my husband full control of our finances because of what my abusive ex did to me, so he's constantly criticizing everything I spend and trying to get our friends to side with him. Posted by you/material pair 1840. My husband and I have been married for over a year, and he knows what I make hourly, but I don't just hand money over to him. Backstory: 10 years ago, my kid's dad took control of my bank account and income, spent my savings, and gave me an allowance of $50 a week from my paycheck. This had to cover gas, groceries, and diapers. I gave birth to our second child a year and a half later and would walk to the store so I could save gas for work. One day, I had to make a decision about buying diapers for my oldest or my newborn. I cried in the diaper section because I couldn't believe my life had gotten to this point. I'll never forget the kind person who purchased the diapers for my children and gave me extra money to hide. When I got home, I was belittled and accused of stealing money to buy so much. When I explained that $50 a week for the four of us, including diapers, wasn't enough, he told me to figure it out. I asked for $100 a week. Eventually, I convinced him to allow me more money. 3 months later, I left and swore I'd never allow another man to do that again. Present day, 10 years later, my husband was fully aware that I came with about $18,000 in credit card debt. I've successfully paid off almost all of it in full within 2 years. I made this possible by not having my own house, a leech of an ex with 4 kids, or utilities to pay. I'm responsible for groceries for our family of 5, the phone bill for us, and car insurance. I also have my car payment and 1 credit card. My husband pays the utilities and the house payment. Recently, we purchased a new to us camper, and he took a loan on it while putting the money I received from my totaled camper into the bank. He has that, along with his vehicle payment. He says I should be giving him $300 or more a month for savings and to help with the utilities, but I won't. If something happens to him, I can't access that account to pay bills, etc. I don't believe I'm on his account at all. I opened an account 5 months ago and have been placing $250 per paycheck into it for safekeeping. I also have to get school supplies, kids' clothes, and similar expenses. For his daughter, he and his ex-wife split the costs 50-50, but my ex and I are not on those kinds of terms. My husband gets frustrated that my situation isn't like his, but I told him it is what it is. Every pay period, he asks me for money for utilities, and I brush it off or say, if you buy groceries, sure. He says I don't know how to save money and that he should have what's left of my paycheck each week for vacations, going out to dinner, etc. I won't do it. The mere thought of having an allowance again terrifies me. Do I overspend some weeks? Yes, but I no longer use a credit card to buy items. I don't rob Peter to pay Paul like I did in 2020. I budget carefully, right down to using coupons for groceries and calculating my grocery bill before I even enter the store. He says I need to trust him and let him manage all of our money together because his savings account is supposed to be my savings account too. I just can't bring myself to do this unless I have full access to the account as well. I don't see that being an option. Recently, he sold a vehicle and put $16,000 into savings, giving me $1,000 to spend however I wanted. I put $200 in the bank, bought each of my kids an early Christmas gift, at a friend's house so they wouldn't see them, paying $200 per item since they were on sale. I also ordered new glasses, $275, and contacts, $150. When I mentioned wanting a $20 hoodie, he said, I gave you money, did you spend it already? I replied, kind of, though he knew what I had done with it. He then said he wasn't buying the hoodie because I'm irresponsible with money, that he should never have given me the $1,000, and asked for receipts for everything I bought. He already knew I had gone to the eye doctor, how much I paid, and what I spent on the Christmas gifts, especially since I saved more than I spent on them. He's been very pushy about holding all the money, to the point that his friends are beginning to make comments about it. They tell me I need to pay when we go out for drinks, saying I should pull out my debit card and cover the tab. I probably have $10,000 in the bank. I leave the tip, and I don't drink when we go out, aside from water. Occasionally, I'll have a small drink, but I won't risk a DUI. I tip because the bartenders are usually very attentive, always making sure my water is full and that I never go without. So, I take care of them. Am I wrong for not letting my husband have control of all the money? Edit. I want to be clear that the debt I acquired and had when we moved in together was from a past relationship, taking a huge pay cut, and COVID. During COVID, it screwed my income. I hardly worked and was continually looking for work while homeschooling both my kids. I robbed Peter to pay Paul, and my ex-boyfriend, who lived with me, didn't want to help with anything and was a huge financial burden. I had to get that reeled in. Our incomes are similar currently. In January, I was put up for a promotion, and once my training is complete, my monthly income will be 1.5 times more than his current monthly income. My current income, based on his base pay, not including overtime, is about $6,000 less annually, but it can go up to $20,000 with overtime. Before the news about my promotion, He was already pushy about wanting detailed information about my finances. Now that things are coming to an end, he's pushing even harder. When I buy something for myself, like the pair of shoes I got for walking, he asks if I got my raise, and I just respond, I wish. He then says that when I do get a raise, I'll have to give him $500 so he can keep it for safekeeping. His bills amount to roughly $700 a month. The house is $400, leaving $300 available for gas, water, and electricity. Here are my bills. Car insurance is $250 a month, it just changed again because he sold a vehicle and bought a different one. Last month, it was $337. The phone bill is a little over $264.03, which includes internet. Groceries range weekly from $200 to $400, depending on produce, meat purchases, etc., which is a big reason why I haven't been helping with household bills. I also pay for all streaming services, which can be ridiculous too. Also, he made a comment about how not allowing him access to my money means I'm hiding what I have so I can plan to leave in the future. Update 4 months later. I took some of your suggestions previously. I asked him to go to marriage counseling, but he declined, saying he didn't have any issues in our marriage except for me. I suggested a joint bank account for bills and bills alone while keeping separate accounts for our savings. This argument was pretty much the end of our marriage for me. I opened my own savings account at a different bank than the one I was currently using. I didn't have a debit card, so if I needed to withdraw money, I had to physically go to the bank. I picked up side cleaning jobs for spending money so I wouldn't have to touch either of the accounts I had. We went to a sporting event with our children. I have 2, and he has 1 from previous relationships. After the event, the kids wanted fast food, which was fine with me since it was late, and I didn't feel like cooking. He asked me when we won the lottery, and I told him I just didn't feel like cooking, so it was fine, and I handed him $20. 3 days later, I went to work, and apparently, he had other plans for the money in his account that he had wanted me to contribute to. I came home to find the ugliest darn car in our driveway. He wasn't home, he was at the bar. When he finally pulled into the driveway, I pretended to be asleep so I wouldn't blow up at him that night. Since he had been drinking for 5 hours, I knew it wasn't the best idea anyway. He was mad at me when I woke up in the morning because I didn't say goodnight to him and was already asleep by the time he got home. He said I didn't need to worry because he was going to take out a loan on the car to put the money back into his savings account, the same thing he did with the camper when I gave him money for it. Had I actually given him money to put into the savings account, it wasn't our money, it was his money. Financial decisions were his and his alone, apparently. When I got to work, I started looking for an apartment. Within 3 hours, I was signing paperwork and getting a cashier's check for the security deposit. I told him the day before I was moving out that I was leaving, and he asked me how I could do this without talking to him first. I replied, well, you bought a car without talking to me first, so I got an apartment without your permission. I filed for divorce on my birthday. Since then, I've been called a gold digger, accused of having an affair, and blamed for the financial problems he is currently facing. The camper, which I practically paid for, was something he decided to take a loan on to put money into his savings account. Now, he says he doesn't want the camper anymore and insists I have to cover the cost of the loan to take it off his hands. I don't see why I should have to pay for that. Since I gave him cash, there's no paper trail to prove what the money was for, and he never deposited it into the bank. If I want the camper, I really don't have a choice but to pay off the loan. He asked me for cash for the camper, and I literally laughed out loud. I told him, I already did that once, and I'm not doing it again or paying anything more. He called me, asking for the truth, wanting to know if I had really cheated on him and if that's why I left, because I wasn't watering his garden. I told him marriages end for many reasons, not just affairs, and suggested he seek therapy to address his unresolved issues from his previous marriages, especially if he assumes I cheated on him. I'm getting a divorce, and once it's finalized, I'll be looking to purchase my own home and will have absolutely no contact with him. My children and I are already thriving in our little apartment, and I'm managing my money very well. He wanted someone who depended on him and needed him, but that just wasn't me.